Right, so we have successfully acquired the channel despite minor issues. Our vessel is ready.
Good. What's next?
Well, it totally depends on you, sir. Would you like to start with your political campaign or expand our business far and beyond?
It's too early for politics. What do we have in our depot?
Oh, plenty of vehicles to advertise, sir. Which project would you like to do first? We have F-17s, A-25s, AH-52s, or XM292, AH-28, captured
Wait.
L-1s...
AH-28. Let's start with that.
Interesting choice, sir.
Also, what happened to Bob?
Oh, you mean Mr. Oh. Don't worry about Mr. Bob, sir. He is isolated and safe. He will not be able to return. Now, if you would excuse me, I would like to, well, work on the project that you've selected. Alright, lads. Pick up the AH-28 project. The Mi-24 vehicles were a major success. However, the Soviet army wanted another helicopter with more dedicated offensive capabilities. So, the Soviet army proposed a helicopter for this specific role. Two companies showed up, by the name of Kamov and Mil Design Bureau. The Mil Design Bureau started working on a project that was heavily inspired by Bell's YAH-63, and the Kamov, the classic Ka-50 Black Shark. The winner? The Black Shark himself, and the Mi-28 lost the competition. This was not the end though, as they approved the design of the helicopter. The improved version of the Mi-28A was fitted with better engines and different tail rotor, and was displayed on Paris Air Show in 1989. Of course, the Soviet Union would not survive for long. So, after some more testing by the military, the Mi-28 deemed superior to the Ka-50, especially in the all-weather capabilities. As such, the Ka-50 was cancelled in 1993. At the same time, the Swedish army announced the need for a dedicated attack helicopter platform. The conflict and modern arms were getting more and more modern and dangerous, and the helicopters such as HKP-9A was not enough. So, two competitors showed up. The Mil Mi-28A and the Boeing AH-64. And this was the final showdown. The East versus the West. Communism versus capitalism. As if, well, the Cold War wasn't deciding that already, but hey, whatever. Both passed their trials with success. However, Sweden changed their policy and doctrine, and if that wasn't enough, you also had budget cuts. Seriously, who wrote that on the script? That's terrible. This is where you can see our beautiful premium product in the Swedish heli tree, the Mi-28A. Back in the land of the new Russian Federation, the new and improved Mi-28N with upgraded flare system, gun camera and all-weather capabilities was ready to roll out. But the Russian Federation was still not ready. Until 2000, where attention was given to re-equipping the Russian army. And that was where the Mi-28 was accepted and went into service in 2009. Until several years later to the Mi-28NM. The Mi-28NM is the upgraded variant, with some new changes including its engines, new weaponry, better target acquisition system, and the N025 radar. The trials were successful and the Jelly Chopper was accepted in 2020. There are also export variant of this helicopter as well, the Mi-28NE, in service with Algeria, Iraq and apparently Uganda as well? Albeit, Uganda still does operate a single Apache. Of course, this will not be the end of this helicopter's journey, as Iran is also ordering this helicopter as well. This was the summary of this helicopter's history. Alright boss, we finished the first part. What should we do after?
I would suggest to do the modules first.
Got it, boss. We're doing it.
Oi lads, get the orthographic analysis ready.
This section will be familiar to most of our viewers. We will analyze most of the modules in our disposal and, of course, the armor, if you have any. The first and crucial module to analyze is the crew. This helicopter has a pilot and a weapon system officer. They all have ballistic computers across all of its armaments, alongside EEGS for the gun, and the MI-28A has 3.7 to 73.7 times zoom, with TV auto tracker, and no thermals with SPO-15 radar warning receiver, while the MI-28N has an IRST auto tracker with high-quality thermals. Protection-wise, they all get 128 countermeasures, including chaffs and flares, and the NM variant having the new L-140 laser warning receiver, a missile approach warning system, and an additional mast-operated radar. The radar is the N025. This radar has 3 modes: the MTI, the air-to-air, and the air-to-ground. All of the modes have a 90 degrees by 35 degrees radar scan, while the air-to-air has a full 180 by 20 degrees and 90 by 20 degrees radar scan, while the MTI and air-to-ground has 30 by 35 degrees radar scan. And you may have noticed this already, the ANAPG-78 longbow radar has a 360 degrees radar scan for its air-to-air mode, but this one does not. But the good thing about this radar is that the scan is very much quick, which can help you out on identifying the enemy very fast. This vehicle has 3 centerline fuel tanks, which depending on the aircraft, it can have different amount of fuel, with a slider fuel preset. Also, depending on your model, you can have different engines. The MI-28A has the same engine as the KA-50 and the KA-52, while the MI-28N and NM variant both have the VK2500-2 engines. And just like the KA-52, you will have problems staying in the air with one engine. And also you have the oil cooling system, transmission, traction of the control surfaces, and propeller shaft. Now let's begin with the offensive capabilities. Now let's begin with the rockets first, with the S8KO, 20 on each pod, and 4 installed on each pylon, giving you 80 total, installed on all of these helicopters. These rockets penetrate really well and have a nice punch to them, and it will be your standard rockets for a while until you try out the next weaponry, the S13OF. These rockets are very nice. They may not have the quantity nor the penetration of the S8 rockets, but it has 7 times the explosive mass, and it is incredible at overpushing the vehicles you are firing at. These helicopters do not have the ability to carry unguided bombs, except for the NM variant. The NM model can carry out the FAB-250 M62 and the FAB-500 M62 on all pylons. The N and the NM models are also able to carry out the 9 M39 Igla air-to-air missiles, 4 on each pod, in the outer pylons, giving you 8 total. The Igla is somewhat of a serviceable air-to-air missile. It does 10.2 G pole, has a very nice range, and you have decent quality of air-to-air missiles in one pod, and nice manpad type flare resistance. However, the Caged Seeker alongside its awkward pylon placements, which forces you to compensate your ATGMs, makes it a challenging choice. And speaking of ATGMs, you get the 9 M120 Attacker missiles used on all MI-28s, both in 4 and 8 pod configuration, installed on outer and inner pylons, giving you 8 or 16 total. The Attacker missiles are very nice. They have good amount of explosive mass, speed, a somewhat decent range, a tandem charged warhead with 800mm of penetration, and you can launch multiple of them at the same time, even though you will lose some of them midway. This missile feels nice to aim around as well. You get 4 of these missiles as stock. Up next is going to be the 9K-127 Victor missiles, only exclusive to the NM variant, 6 on each pod, installed on the outer pylons, giving you 12 total. The Victor missile is a household name. It is one of the fastest ATGMs a helicopter has carried.
Alongside this legendary aircraft,
it has a very nice mobility, decent explosive mass and penetration, and incredible range and proxy fuse. This ATGM used to be one of the best in the entire game. Due to its insane pull, it managed to dominate a lot of aircrafts and helicopters. Nowadays it got nerfed significantly, but it might not be as bad as you might think. Aiming for the weak spots can be crucial, despite the missile exhausts being more unusual than the chrysanthemas or the attackers, as the exhaust will disappear once it travels beyond 3.5 kilometers. Anything longer than that will make the missile hard to see. And if you thought the previous missiles were not good enough with their penetration, meet the 9 M123 Chrysanthema. This missile is very incredible at shooting down enemy tanks. It sacrifices Victor missiles' range and a bit of speed over the penetration. It only has 6 kilometers of range, has similar maneuverability and feeling as the attackers, and overall it feels like you are punching hard with these missiles. And finally you have the GSH-23 cannon pods installed on the inner pylons with 250 ammo each, and the main cannon of the helicopter, the 2A42, which is the same cannon as the KA50, the KA52, and the BMP2M. Unlike the KA52, this cannon is not limited to its side. Instead, it is indeed fully rotatable, and it has a great long range and nice penetration. Now let's have a gander at the mobility. The MI-28 is an attack helicopter that is relatively heavy. However, depending on your controls mode, it feels either lighter than your average Soviet helicopter or worse than a K-52. First off, the mobility is nice, and it feels indeed a fast helicopter with a very great top speed. Even though at high speeds if you try to pull up, you will realize that it will pull to right very violently. You also had similar behavior on other helicopters like the Mi-24 or the AH-64. But this is much more bolder on the Mi-28. Once you hit 300 km per hour, your helicopter will turn right due to its imbalanced rotor lift in high speeds. But this is not the worst problem. The problem begins here. The yaw control is nice. The roll rate is better than your average Soviet helicopter, but the pitch control is so terrible, the Mi-24s feel better. Now here is the kicker. If you switch mouse aim to any other controls mode, you will realize that the problem is with the mouse aim, not with the helicopter. In here, the pitch control becomes similar to the AH-64. I hope this problem will be handed over to our lads at Gaijin Entertainment for further investigation. Both the Klimov and the VK engines are decent enough to not to be problematic with the collective pitch management, unlike the Mi-24s. However, the engines can be destroyed if you pull too much pressure on them, just like every single Allison bastard. I hate those. Now let's move towards the final verdict in battlefield analysis. Let's start with a Swedish Mi-28 Alpha. This helicopter is a rank 6 premium, which is sold for 9,270 Golden Eagles. For the ground realistic battles, this helicopter sits at a very awkward BR. Not like if the Swedish lineups are going to have any kind of problems. As the Leopard 2A4s, each and every single STRV and the anti-airs will never disappoint you, both in low tiers and high tiers. And when I'm talking about low tiers, I'm talking about like 10.3 or at high tiers 11.3 or 11.7. But it totally depends on you. Would you like to up BR your 10.3 lineup to 10.7 or would you like to go higher? It totally depends on you. But either way, this helicopter can do the job. It may not be able to perform at evenings or at night as well as the day, but it still does have a lot of attacker anti-tank missiles, a nice selection of rockets, and if you didn't like the Swedish heli tree such as HKP-3C or any other, it is not a bad alternative to Help the Grind. And of course, who can forget, it has a nice cannon, despite having limited ammo. In Heli PvE, honestly this game mode is terrible anyway, but just in case you do have the rockets, and very good quantity of ATGMs, although your range may not be enough for the Rolands, it is well above the limits of most anti-airs in that game mode. Of course, it's an Mi-28A and it has no Iglas, so do not expect a lot of things from it when it comes to engaging bombers or attackers. Now let's have a look. Okay, hold on, just honest to God, Gaijin, you butchered Heli PvE. I'll talk about that. I'll get to you later. I'll get to you later. Apologies, the voices you've heard were nothing but mere fiction. Anyway, final verdict for the Mi-28A. highly recommended. Now let's have a look at the Soviet MI-28N. This helicopter sits at the 11.0 BR. This is a helicopter with a nice upgrade compared to its predecessor, the MI-35M. Your ability to carry out 16 attackers are very nice. You have thermals and nice zoom, unlike the Ka-50, and most of the Soviet helicopters do blend in with the good lineups they have, and if they do not, I'm sure that the bastards like this can be played at any BR. If you don't count this and this. Of course. If you are interested, you can spate this helicopter if you like. And of course, it can be a nice helicopter if you wish to grind it. However, if you like to pick the best of the best, please, be my guest. This is the end of the line. The most modern helicopter the Russian tree has seen so far. It has the option to choose between 3 different ATGMs, playstyles based on your preference, a functional IRCM which is TY90 proof, and easily disrupts most of the infrared missiles. A nice radar that, despite not having a full 360 degrees radar scan, it is still one of the best helicopter radars. And the first time that they added the radar, it was the only helicopter that had an MTI scan, which honestly, it was quite unique. This vehicle is compatible with all of your top tier lineups, and it will not disappoint. Verdict, unlock it, and spade it. Sullivan Avionics never lacked the power when it comes to its products, and the MI-28 family never disappoints. My name is Scotty Wellington from Sullivan Avionics, and thank you for watching. Ah, bloody crap, I swear to God, dude, man, British accent is something else.